Hello, I'm JumpSlot120, and this is the Redux Director's Commentary. So, I'm going to turn this down a little bit so I can hear myself think, but this is sort of the Director's Commentary for Redux. I'm going to talk about some of the thoughts that went through my head while making Redux, some of the processes that I, used at editing, recording, creating, etc., etc., etc. I guess the very first thing we could start out with is you'll note that the intro is actually an older intro, and I just felt, for whatever reason, when I was making this, I just thought to myself, like, the intro, like, I didn't want to use the newer intro because I have that newer one, and it just felt kind of odd to use the newer one, and so I didn't. Let's see, this island that we're on right now is actually a custom-built island, so a lot of the places were hand built, and in the beginning I put like a lot of effort into a lot of the smaller details, like this building coming up, for example. Like, the design itself is pretty simple, but like none of the textures are normal, which gives you that very first impression that something is not quite right, and you come in and you see those, and they could have just been plain blocks with textures, but you see it has a little bit of depth because it's a chisel and bits. The lights on the floor are not sea lanterns or anything like that, but there's just that little bit of extra something to make it feel not quite 100% normal. This is probably one of my favorite. That teleport effect I've actually used in a number of different things, and funny thing, the reason it lags so much here is actually because of the upcoming bit with the... If you haven't seen the film, I would say watch the film before you see the director's commentary, obviously. But the room with all of the pipes and stuff is the reason why this whole section lags so much. It was important to have that room where you walk in and everything is flowing and things like that, so I wanted to keep that in, but I couldn't work it in a way to make it seem like it was like normal to like, basically if I took out the pipes, it would have looked weird. If I took out the items from the pipes, I mean, and if I didn't have the items flowing until like right at that last second, there would have been like this burst of lag that would have been weird, and I don't know. So this is just kind of how it is. It's just Minecraft, I guess. It's not the most strange thing ever. I actually, funny thing, there's when I first shot this, I re-recorded the lines for this first part a lot, because how I wanted it to come across was Jump Splat is he doesn't know it's a game or anything like that, and he's, for him it's like real life, and so he's genuinely being caught on fire, things like that, etc., etc. And so the cursing was like really like heavy, and it was like really intense, like, what the fuck is going on, and like really like a little bit too serious, especially considering it's a game and all that. And so I was showing sort of an early screening to some friends, and they were like, you need to like chill out on the like cursing and stuff like that. Oh, there's the fucking bats. Oh, so the room's not lit perfectly, and so bats were spawning in there. But yeah, so there's like lots of different like retakes of the lines on this. One of the things is I had a line here that said, "Is that an infinity catalyst?" And which is why I'm looking at it directly. But I cut that line out, so I'm just looking at it instead. So anyone who has messed with Avaricia understands that that's something, and otherwise it's just like a shiny object that I'm looking at. I think that like right about here, there was a cut so that I could, because like I was like lagging so much, I had to like cut or something. I can't quite remember. If you look at the end of that hallway, there's actually something in that room, which you can see for just a second wander by the doorway. And it's such a subtle, like it's such a perfect subtle touch. But so there's a zombie horse in that room, and it just wanders past, and if you're not looking at it, you won't even see it. And it's such a subtle thing. But I liked that. A lot of this beginning stuff I really liked. And the pacing, I think, was a lot slower. I liked the run, the double meaning of like get the fuck out, but also just run, like run.exe program sort of thing. The effects with the I can't remember what mod that was, but there's a mod that lets you use particle effects and then change the particles to be whatever you wanted. And so I changed the texture of the particle to be ones and zeros. And then I changed the colors, and yeah, that came out beautifully. I did chisel and bits for that whole platform, chisel and bits for that. There's a lot of stuff I did chisel and bits for. So this beginning was really, really intensive. And when I finished it all, I must have spent, I would say I spent a third of the time working on the first 20 minutes of the footage. Well, actually, I guess that makes sense, because this film's not even 60 minutes long. Well, okay, I let me just say I spent a disproportionate amount of time working on the first part. I think I did. Maybe I didn't actually, really. Realistically, because ultimately I spent a lot of time. I think what's different is how I spent my time. I spent time putting in the small details, like the horse in the back, designing the set to be exactly the way I wanted it to look. Like I redid the textures on all the gray goo blocks, by the way, which they look so much nicer now, because the original textures aren't. If you've ever messed with gray goo, you'll know that the textures are actually kind of really shit. Also, breaking that green block, total accident. They're they're just super easy to break. Super easy to break. But yeah, all of the gray goo blocks themselves, I changed the texture. There was a lot of version hopping to hop between versions. So because Chisel and Bits obviously wasn't around when Grey Goo was. And Grey Goo, the mod that I specifically wanted to use, there's a updated version, but it's like not perfect. It doesn't have all the features, and it definitely doesn't have the Great Destroyer, which was a key point. And so when I first made the Grey Goo mod, when I first was talking to friends and designing Redux, it was a long time ago, back with Nerdtix, actually, back with Jeremy. And we actually kind of shot a very, very shitty version of Redux, which was like, he got taken over by the Grey Goo, and I tried to save him, but then I had to run away to an island, and then he tracked me down. And so a lot of that concept is still there. That basically character wakes up on an island and doesn't know what's going on, accidentally infects the world with this Grey Goo, which was supposed to be in like a special containment unit, which originally in the original version, it was just like this small pit in the ground, and now it's like this dark dimension area. That was an accident, by the way. I wasn't meant to pick all that back out of my inventory. So then and when I did that, I realized, oh shit, now I realized it right about here, which is why I then do that intentional. I look at it too, like, it's like looking at the camera too. Like, I just was like, oh, there it is. Good. Let's not, pick that up accidentally. But I wanted to make it clear that it's my fault because I dropped it on the floor and then I pick it up later, sort of thing. But yeah, so there's all this exploration here of me, like, oh, fun note. So the first time I did this, the gray goo actually spreads through the green blocks. And so the Grey Goo actually spread through the green blocks and started infecting. It did start infecting the entire world. And this world is a solid underground, like, cavern area. And so because of that, I didn't know it was infecting it because it was all the black. And then once it started infecting the black, I broke through, and I was like, oh shit, I actually fucked up. And I had to completely, I think I used world edit to remove all the Grey Goo. And there I go. I pick it up. Yeah, but I think I ended up using world edit to remove the goo because I was just like, uh-oh, I bolted up. So if you got rid of all the black wool, and it's just black wool textured to be pure black, which is a lovely effect, by the way. Yeah, you would see that the cavern that I'm in is just horribly mangled and stuff. Ooh, there's a lovely transition here. From 147 to, or that was so the chisel and bits just disappeared behind me because I'm in 147 now with the Grey Goo mod, which is why I never turned back around. Because the chisel and bits, I basically, when I open my inventory, I change from, I think it's 110. That's why the door is suddenly closed as well. I changed from 110 to 147 to change between the mods. And that honestly is one of my favorite transitions because it's so smooth. Oh, this is another one of those scenes that I reshot a number of times. I reshot a number of times with like the audio. I just was like, I didn't know how I wanted it. Again, it's like one of those things, like I wanted it to come across as this character is like genuinely freaking out. Like he was looking for answers. He wasn't trying to like be a lab rat or anything. And he just kind of was like following the linear path that was set out. But now it's like things are going wrong and he still doesn't have answers. And now he's like, okay, like now there's a big problem that I shouldn't be my problem. Like I shouldn't have to deal with this. This was fun to reshoot over and over to get it to chase me, because it does chase you. It gets faster the closer to you it is. So it's like basically right there on the left, and then right here on the left as well. And so to get it to chase me without it like actually overtaking me is like a genuine difficulty, because it's very slow when it's far away, but when it's right next to you, it's like super fast. So there's like a very like thin line that I had to walk to try to get it to like look like it was coming down the hallway without it like instantly overtaking. That platform originally used to be Chisel and Bits, but then when I realized I needed the same platform to be in 147 and 110, I had to make it just nether quartz, and there is no nether quartz in 147. So that's actually retextured stone slabs. Brings me back up. Yeah. So it's funny. So I was talking to some of my friends. I was talking to Kendra actually, who plays Carrie Markins, and she thought that she was like, yeah, that actually sounds like you're stressed out, like you're crying, like I've genuinely seen you cry before. That's what that sounds like. And other friends are just like, it seems a little bit too heavy, you know, at times. Which is like, I don't know. I guess it's missing it's feel, like, cuz it's Minecraft, so it shouldn't be that serious maybe. But or maybe even it should be like silly or something like that, but it just kind of comes across as like way too serious for the source material. So but yeah, so this is another one of those scenes that I had to reshoot a lot. Again, a lot of these beginning scenes I reshot a lot. And that, by the way, having those lights turn off, pure coincidence. It just worked out that way. It was lovely. But I reshot this scene. I reshot a lot of these original scenes to get them to work perfectly. Because working with the gray goo, you find out that it's unpredictable. So sometimes it's spread up perfectly, and sometimes it like spread out in an awkward way. So I would like step outside and then instantly fall into a pit. And so this is that. So there's actually, what do you call it? There's two reasons I came back. And the first reason is to have that sort of feign the, oh, I don't know what's going on. Maybe I can fix it. Maybe I should double check. And then, oh no. But then also I'm just checking to see, you know, is the Great Destroyer spreading up through the building? Because that's how I wanted it to work. You know, I wanted the design for it to come straight up through the top. So I like wanted to make sure it's there. And once I'm like, oh, it's there, cool, moving on, like, because it's still dangerous, you know. Yeah. So there's that in my inventory accident. I don't know why that ended up there. I had to reshoot. I remember having to reshoot this because the Great Destroyer got me. I was originally saving a lot of footage for, there's no mouse tweaks. You see me like struggle because I'm trying to use mouse tweaks, but it's not there. I was originally saving a lot of footage so that I could do bloopers. And that's one of those things that I think I was talking about in the update video, most recent update videos, is like I didn't have the sort of organization. And now, like, if I was to do another project, a big project like this, which I don't think I would by myself, but if I were, I think there'd be a lot of things I would do differently. One of them being how I would organize things. That shot is lovely, by the way. Seeing it come out of the top like that was perfect. I was like, it's a perfect shot. Please don't catch me. Because that thing is fast. I was like genuinely like, oh, please don't fucking catch me. You're going to ruin the shot. Yeah, like I would want to set it up in such a way that, like, for example, if I wanted bloopers, I would be able to keep track of them better. Because right now, if I wanted to find those bloopers, I'd have to go all the way back through all of the footage, and try to find them. And in some cases, I think I even like just deleted footage that I knew I was never ever going to use, things like that. So yeah, so I love the beginning. And I definitely love all the way up to this first part. I think all of that is perfect. It's definitely, like, it's what I was looking for. And I wanted the whole film to be this quality. And I think that it's just one of those things that I took too much on at one time. Because to get this was an incredible amount of work that I don't think I would be able to sort of replicate it. But it's not a big deal because it came out exactly how I wanted it. Honestly, it just makes me want to redo some more surreal Minecraft shorts and the shorts are perfect because they're just the right amount of length for me to put a lot of notes into it, sort of thing. And also, this title shot was not intentional. I was just shooting a shot of behind the character, and then I was thinking to myself, "Fuck! Like if it's an almost entirely static shot. I could just put Redux, the title, floating right there, and it would be perfect." Oh, another thing that stressed me out. So I'm using the replay mod for this, but at a raised enough angle, you can see the chunk borders, and that drove me crazy. Yeah, that drove me crazy for some of these shots that was supposed to be like super cinematic. Oh, and there was some shader issues. I wasn't aware you were supposed to turn off vanilla clouds, so I left those on so those peek through a lot of the terrain. And you're supposed to turn off like vanilla sun and moon as well. And so those are still on, but oh well. Let's see. I was like running out of, I love that shot, by the way, the with the like extending out stuff. So I didn't know that would work the way that it did, but I was using world edit and then playing it back with the replay mod, and it just, it looked exactly like that, just like lots of blocks popping into place magically, which is nice, because it made it the Great Destroyer. I don't know if it looked quite like I wanted it to, because it does kind of have that look of somebody building with world edit. I guess if you play enough Minecraft. Also, this whole like section was done in creative, and I think if you watch that back, and I tried to fix it, but I think there's a bit that you can see where I'm just hovering off the floor, maybe like a few inches. But the whole thing's played very, very quickly, so it's hard to tell. This basically is me just going up and down the ladder and pulling things out of the chest, putting things back into the chest over and over and over. I was just doing shots like that. Try to show the passing of time sort of thing. And then also this like bit right here where everything just gets orange is actually just part of the shaders, I think. So when it ticked over from day to nighttime, the shaders just made everything a bit orange, which I thought was really interesting because it was not intentional. All of these mine shafts are all, what do you call them? They're all only about like 2 deep. They don't go anywhere. They're like 2 deep. What was it? Oh, another one of my favorite effects. And this one is so small. This one is so small that I forget it's there even. You'll notice that the entire thing is shot with jump splat being in hardcore mode. And so the threat of death is supposed to be very imminent because he's in hardcore. He could die. It could be all over, etc., etc. Because he lives in the world is the idea. It's not hardcore. And I think what I did eventually is I retextured hearts in game. I retextured the hearts to be hardcore hearts, but it was just vanilla, like non-hardcore Minecraft. However, I didn't do that in the beginning, so I actually edited those hearts in After Effects, using After Effects, and place those hearts there. And so every time I open an inventory, like upcoming, like that inventory, you'll notice those hearts look a little bit darker than they should be. Like a little bit more saturated, maybe. They should have been a bit like grayer. Yeah, that's because those hearts were added in post. So, but it's such a subtle effect. I mean, you're not, unless you're watching this and you're looking at it, you would never see it. And I even forget that they're there. And it's not there for the whole show, for the whole series. There's a small issue with this shot, which is that I left F3H on, and so it all has the coal, gold ore, and then like the hex number, the Minecraft : gold, Minecraft : etc., etc., etc. Total accident. I didn't realize until afterwards, and I was editing it, and the shot was like so good that I was just like, I don't want to redo it. So I just kind of left it. Because it's one of those things that man. And it's the same for the beginning as well. The hearts being edited in post-processing, or in post rather. I don't know why I keep saying post-processing. I haven't eaten anything today, so I'm a little out of it. But yeah, the hearts with them like coming back up to full like that. What a pain in the ass that was. But I did it in the beginning as well when I'm taking damage in the fire. It's the same sort of effect. But yeah, so to get a lot of the... Also, I have 6 levels of experience, and I think my levels are one of the things that has no continuity at all. You'll notice there's just no continuity with my levels. I don't know why. I just seem to have totally fucking slipped my mind. I think at one point I was like, oh, I'll just fix it in post, and then was like, nah, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, so I would say a lot of this beginning stuff did not have lines. So like the whole porcupine, pork chop, Dave thing, off the cuff. It just in the script says talks to pig. When I came down here, there's like a very quick cut that like is me turning back around, which cuts into sort of having Alpha being standing right there. And that's how that works. But in retrospect, I was thinking about it, and I was like, it's kind of weird the jump spot goes down and then doesn't look at anything, just immediately gets right back on the ladder. So kind of an issue there. So in the beginning, you see that it says something in collaboration with no one. The meaning of that is that, like, not only was it like filmed by me, it's edited by me, etc. I would say a majority of the characters. I voice even more characters if I had finished it. Even more of the characters are voiced by me. But an interesting note is that all the characters are played by me too. So anytime you see anyone else on screen, at any point, anytime you see anyone else on screen, I am also playing that character. There, I was using the what do you call it? The mocap mod. I think it was the mocap mod to film other characters. And so I had to sync up. Basically, I had to play one side and get the blocking down perfectly, basically I had to block out the entire scene for everyone, and then I would have to play the scene by myself with no reference points and just be like, okay, this is how the blocking's going. So Jump Splat's going to be standing there, there, and there. I should gesture here. I should look there. I should gesture here. And then just do that. And it was like incredibly hard. So like there's times where like some of the other characters kind of look like they're just looking vaguely off in the direction of nothing at all. And it's because I just didn't know exactly where. And so you'll see like I'll step sideways at points to try to like line my eyes up to make it feel more like I'm kind of standing where they're looking. Because it just doesn't feel supernatural. But yeah, that's the and the what do you call it? This is still actually 1.10. So for whatever reason, what was the reasoning behind this? I think the reasoning was that I didn't want to. Yeah, so that's why I stepped right there to make sure that I was still in eyesight. I think the reasoning was that I just didn't want the Great Destroyer actually spreading and catching up to me. I didn't want to be on a time limit. So all of the Great Destroyer blocks you see out there are just red wool. Retextured red wool, and all of the golems are just iron golems. Retextured iron golems. And I actually retextured the iron golems entirely as well, which is kind of interesting because you never really see them, or I retextured the golems themselves, which is interesting because the only time you see them close is in the beginning, and I didn't retexture those ones. I only retextured the following ones. So I guess the closest you'd see would be in the shader shot. So I knew I wanted him to vanish. I didn't really know how I wanted to pull that effect off. There's supposed to be a Great Destroyer in the sky, but because of like rendering, I couldn't get the Great Destroyer to look close enough. The nanomachines. Oh, here's a fun little Easter egg, or rather bug. The nanomachines, I didn't retexture them. I didn't rename them. I just retextured them. And so when it pops up nanomachines, when I pick them up, that's actually done in post. But the problem is there's a small section where I switch over and switch back, and you can see it says carrots, because originally it was a feather. And then as I'm walking back and forth, it suddenly becomes a carrot, because obviously I had to eat it. So I changed it. It was a feather originally. And then I was like, oh shit, I have to eat that, don't I? Yeah, total futz on my part. This is actually shamelessly ripped from someone. Who was it? Mining God Bruce. I should let him know. I use it for 5 seconds, and I heavily edit it. I just didn't, because basically I wanted a shot of someone going on terrain for a long distance, and he already had that, and I could have done it myself, but I was just like, I don't really want to create a long-ass track and then just record myself on a minecart for 10 minutes. So I just used his footage because I was like, ultimately I was like, I'm going to do so much stuff to it. It's going to be like mostly unrecognizable. So I probably should let him know that his footage is used in it, and I could take it out, but I'm also not monetizing Redux. I think I actually have to double check, but I'm not going to monetize Redux because I think there's a lot of stuff in here that is not mine. Like, it doesn't belong to me. A lot of borrowing from people without like crediting properly, things like that. This is, I would say, where things started to go downhill a little bit. So it was like, after that scene, I was like, cool. And then I was like, okay, now it has to what? It wasn't super entirely clear. And I had it written out. I actually have a script. If I look at the scripts, which I think is on my Google Drive, I'm going to check that real quick. Google Drive. Let's see. So, pirate character, train trip, beta jump splat, quest, Redux. So, I think it did say I think it was even there that I said, like, I just ended up in another place. But I just, yeah, it was Jump Slut wakes up on an island that appears to be deserted, but it's not the island that you woke up on the beginning of the movie. Ah, my fucking head, deja vu. He doesn't see any signs of anything familiar. Well, this isn't the same island, blah, blah, blah. And I think that was written in. That was the intention, but I think it did kind of feel a little lost, even as I watched it. Oh, I liked this, though. I created this in Photoshop. And the mouse, actually, is After Effects. I really liked that sort of design. But I just was like, I don't know, there's something about it that just didn't feel quite as solid as I wanted it to. Maybe the beach was a little bit too big. But I think it did come back together ultimately. 'Cause I think what it fucked with was the flow so much. My brain was just like, oh, like it had a good flow, it had a thing going, and now we're just like rehashing the same stuff of waking up on an island and not knowing what's going on. Like, try something new, you know? But it's kind of supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be that way. It is. Redux has always been like a half-baked idea, so having this whole thing was like one of the first times I had ever like fully come up with something, and I was like, I need to, like, there needs to be a beginning, middle, and end. But yeah, I liked this. And one of my favorite things was always, what's on the other side of that signpost? If we're going to Meritos, what's the other direction? This was fun. I actually had the render distance set to something like 32 to try to get it to look really nice, and it just didn't come out. It just came out to, the maximum render distance of whatever, like 16. This is a great shot. Also, I love this shot, but it looks really good, but I died after that. Like, I died immediately. And anyone who's played Minecraft would be like, yeah, you can't survive that many zombies. You got cornered, you're dead. This was a pretty cool shot too. I really like a lot of these shots. I think looked really cool. Especially the falling off the edge. And it's supposed to be clear that he does end up falling into water, but I don't think it comes out that way. This is supposed to be sweeping landscape, but again, fucking Minecraft is one of those things that I struggled with this whole time. I wanted these sweeping, majestic landscape shots, and Minecraft just doesn't fucking render out far enough. So I had a lot of shots that tended to be a lot closer. Oh well. I think this sort of majestic, montage-y kind of thing did come out pretty well, all things considered. And then we make our way to Meritos, created by Aragnok or something like that. But yeah, this is the next thing that I think I spent the most time on. So the first thing I spent the most time on was that like first scene with all the chisel and bits and all the special effects, like the particle effects, and getting everything to work well like that. And this was the next thing I spent a lot of time on, was getting all of these characters synced up. All of the farmers, the people walking by, took a dumb amount of time. Like, it took way, way too much time to get it to work. Honestly. Oh my god. There's a dude just standing over there because some of the NPCs were broken and just stood in places for no reason. There is, if you look to your left behind that tree, there's actually the fucking blockbuster blocks that were supposed to be hidden, and somehow I just left them in frame. And there's actually 2 cuts right there using the Premiere's, it's called like pixel cut or something like that. And it sort of like does this sort of smooth-ish like transition between the two, which kind of came out okay, all things considered. It does look a little jerky, but if you don't know it's there, you might not notice. But if you know it's there, it's like you can never not see it. So there's 2 of them. When I first look up at the building, and then when I get to like the second set of stairs on the bridge. But yeah, this was fun. So the reason why is the first set was to like trigger it to stop one group of people. The second set was to trigger the next group of people to start, because they had to start all at a specific time. Because again, with the blocking, getting the guards to be looking at where I was supposed to be standing and having all the people walking around. And honestly, by the way, here's another cut, but this one was just a hard cut between when I stopped moving my head for a sec. It's probably the best way to do it was to just have hard cuts between each pause. But to have all of these people, oh God, it came out incredible. It looks great. Like, honestly, it makes me go, fuck, that looks cool. I want to be there, or I want to play on that server. It looks awesome. It just took so long. And I was going to do chisel and bits for a lot of things, and some things I just did not chisel and bits them. Oh, funny thing. So the song that you hear in the background is like doo 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 or whatever. It actually was supposed to be overlaid, and instead what happened was it's an overlay of me hearing it through my speakers and humming along with it, which was an accident. And I didn't realize until afterwards that I was like looking at it, and I was like listening to it, and I was like, wait a second, what the fuck? I was like, I can hear myself humming this music. But I left it in because it kind of sounds okay. Because it also kind of grounds the music into the reality a little bit more. So, and the world, the whole market, everything is designed really well. And I like that I only had that very, very small path to make, which is nice, because if I had to go around to like a bigger place, I would just, if I had to animate more people walking, I would probably fucking kill myself. It took so long to animate just that small like 10-second walk over here, because I had each person to do it by myself, or I had to do each person by myself. So each person is 3 minutes of walking, and I did something like 70 characters. 70 individual characters. Oh my God. And it was just the worst. The time crystal was fun. So a lot of the textures, so neat thing about textures. When I make a texture, I find a texture online, and then I find the thing that I'm looking for, and then I scale it down to Minecraft size, so 16 by 16. And if that works, oh, and by the way, the reason that jumps over an extra spot and there's an extra gap in my inventory like that is because there's actually a blanked out item right there. It's the play button to get all of the mo-capped characters to start moving around, which I had to have in my inventory. So it what do you call it? I had to cover it up in After Effects, which I thought was funny. But yeah, the textures, I shrink them down to 16 by 16, and then if it looks good, I just keep them, and then I usually just edit them from there. So that's why all the textures, they don't really have a consistent art style, but they do look pretty accurate. Even the brochure that looks kind of weird at first, and you're looking at it, and I was like, what? But then you're looking at it, yeah, that does look exactly like a trifold brochure. It's because it was a trifold brochure that I just took an image of and collapsed down. The only one I didn't do that one for was the time crystal, because it was an animated texture. So another chisel and bit sign that I had intentions of doing. Again, this is doing all the characters. There's no characters outside. There's not a single person outside because I put all my effort into getting all the characters in here. There's a chisel and bits barrel that I made. Chisel and bits cups. All the tables are chisel and bits. All the chairs are chisel and bits, and I got them to sit in the chairs. That was actually really fun. That worked out so well, because the characters, the replay mod or the mocap characters, can sit in minecarts. So I had them sit in invisible minecarts that were in the same spot as the chairs, and the minecarts were tied to chickens under the floor that were invulnerable, and I think invincible as well. You can also see like a small honeydew which walks by, which I thought was funny. And also, none of those rooms exist. If you look at the room sizes, this size of room would not fit next to how close those doors are. All those doors are real fake doors. They don't go anywhere. Again, the F3 issue. Sometimes I had that on for like testing and things like that. That's me fucking up because I don't know how to use armor stands. Yeah, I just fucking kept forgetting to turn it off. And then I wouldn't notice until I checked it later. And I just would be like, forget it. I want to move on. I don't want to reshoot this. Because of like all the dumb things. Because there's no one to check the continuity for me. It's just me. This, actually, you'll notice it's ever so slightly different. This is one of the few shots that I had. So you remember I had mentioned sometimes I redid some of the shoots because it didn't come out right. This is one of those shoots that I like redid. Because like basically I spent about 3 minutes inside that room waiting for the Great Destroyer to pop through the floor. And it didn't. And so I came outside and was like, what if I just jump down? Maybe it'll like spread if I'm closer to it. But then I couldn't get back out. And like I genuinely did like, I like fought with it for a while. I was like, maybe I could keep this because it could be really kind of cool. So I thought this was going to be that shoot. But it's, what do you call it? It just didn't work out. I like it. Basically, if you stand on that black stuff, it's like virtually impossible to get off of it. You can't move fast enough. In vanilla Minecraft, you can't run fast enough to get off. You can't like run jump. You can't like if you're on it, you're fucked, and it'll spread up and around your head and choke you to death as well. So, the closest you can do in this case was jump like in the water, for example. I think maybe on a flat grass world, you are fractionally faster than it. But yeah, with ocean surrounding me, it wasn't happening. There's like this whole bit where I was like trying to break down trees, but that wasn't happening. And so I just like jumped into the water and I was like, maybe I can outswim it. But it was always just like above me. And I was like, damn. It's like some sort of nightmare because now I can't even get back up and I'm just going to drown to death. And then I was like, later I was like, oh, I need a nightmare scene. And I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And then I was like, oh, I know exactly what I want. I already shot it by accident. That was beautiful. It worked out perfectly. Yeah, so this nightmare scene. Also, probably just realized I should probably have put a seizure warning in the video somewhere. You'll notice there's no more name tags below. No characters anywhere. And suddenly the F3 is gone because I remembered to turn it off. The, what do you call it? This is one of those scenes where it's like, I was like, okay, so he wakes up from the nightmare, he kind of goes out and looks at the day, and then I was like, I don't want to animate any more characters, so fuck it, we'll just cut straight to the boat scene. And I was gonna have people walking around all over the place to make it feel like a bustling shipport. And I did just the characters for the boat, and I went, I hate this process. I hate doing this. Doing it once is fine. Doing it twice is fine. Like, doing it for just the main characters, it's not bad. Doing it for all the extra NPCs, because it was so repetitive to walk in and out of the building over and over and over. Like you've got chests in your hand, like you're carrying things around. Was so repetitive. I was like, I don't want to do this. If you look behind Captain Zamos, kind of up and to the left, on the building, there's a piece of dark oak plank, I think it is, and on that dark oak plank, you can actually see a steering wheel that I was hammering out of chiseling bits. So this boat scene, again, a little rushed, and a lot of these scenes from like here. So there's that wheel, by the way. It's the better iteration is like actually hooked up. I was gonna have this scene using what do you call it? Either Meta Worlds or like Valkyrian Warfare or whatever, and actually have the boat move around and stuff. That was not happening for a number of reasons, like mod conflicts and stuff like that. And actually, there was supposed to be this whole scene where Lyda and Jumpsplat like get to know each other. and I kind of just didn't shoot it. Like, I just didn't shoot it. Because it was just a line in the text that said, Jumpsplat and Lyta interact, or get to meet, or something like that. And so I didn't shoot it. And then afterwards I was watching it. I was like, man, this kind of feels weird. Like, why do they have this rapport that they, like, know each other so well, sort of thing? But I don't know. Maybe she's just motherly. Oh, and the thing that about this scene that fucking kills me as well, is it's not long enough. When I shot the scene, I recorded it saying the lines, but I didn't say the lines exactly the same way, obviously. And so the scene itself is not long enough, and so a lot of it is just the same footage played back. It's like the same, like, second of footage played back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until I get to, like, the next beat where I have to, like, look up at the moon, you know? And so there's bits where you can clearly see that that's happening, because I'm, like, doing this small, like, shuffle, for example. And I don't think, like, if you know, because the stars don't move, the moon doesn't move, there's, like, no daylight ticking, or basically the moon is frozen in place. Because, oh, it's like the moon doesn't move. It's like we're not even moving, she says, because we're not moving. But there's this bit where, like, I'm doing, like, this sort of, like, tracing motion or something, and I'm just moving back and forth, because I didn't have enough footage. And if you watch it, it becomes super, like, obvious. And I did a lot of, this sort of movement too, because I noticed that I would say the biggest issue with having a always first-person camera is anytime you have dialogue, it's boring, which is so funny because it's kind of antithetical to a film. In a film, when you when you're doing things, there's, like, two things that are super interesting, capturing to people, right? There's the very actiony, engaging, like, crazy fun, fast scenes, and that's fun. And you can almost do that however you want. It's just visual eye candy. It almost doesn't even matter. However, the other scene that's really good is dialogue. And dialogue can be shot lots of different ways to make it really interesting. But dialogue can be shot in a boring way. Like, the thing is, it's kind of hard to fuck up action. If the action itself is good, it's kind of hard to fuck it up. But if even if you have good dialogue, you can still fuck it up by having, like, boring footage. And so I was, like, sitting here and I was like, man, even if the line delivery is spot on, even if it's Oscar-worthy shit, it's gonna come across, it's just dull. And so I was like, the best thing I can do is add in a little bit of motion. Because otherwise it literally would have been a static, it could have just been a picture of me staring at Lyta's face. You wouldn't have not even noticed if it weren't for the torch in the background being, like, static. You would be like, hey, there's no particle effects coming from those torches. Actually, you can't see the particle. Oh yeah, you can. I was gonna say, you can't even see them. You can. So I think that would have been the only, like, giveaway is that it was a static picture. So yeah, so it just I don't know. I think that there are a lot of things that I liked about shooting Minecraft. I think there's a lot of freedom that you have. And I think that it could be really cool for storyboarding. As I sit here and I reminisce and I think, this was easy, this was shit. And storyboarding, yeah, I could storyboard easily because I could mocap two characters to just stand in place and have a camera pan around and be like, this is vaguely what I want to do in real life. I could shoot a scene for some B-roll and be like, this is the kind of B-roll I want. I want a roving mountain shot, or I want a house shot, I want a through the window shot, I want to, whatever the fuck I want, but things like this that's supposed to be, like, gripping, emotional, there's nothing. I wanted it it's not bad, it's not as much as I wanted it to be. It just didn't have that gripping, like, intense. It was because it's so static, and there's no facial expressions. There's nothing like that. Nightmare. Woo-hoo. And then color grade is one of the few color graded scenes in the entire film. That, and technically the previous scene is color graded too, just to make it look a bit darker. This was actually a horrible scene to film. I hated filming this. However, I almost like this more than the market, like the coming into Maritas scene, because Maritas looked great, and when I first shot it, I went, wow, Maritas looks cool. Like, with all these people walking around, it looks lively and bustling, and it's awesome. But this, having arrows flying everywhere and having, like, explosions and shit like that, like, genuine having explosions go off, was really kind of super cool. I would say, like, 80% of the characters die off, like, in the first 10 seconds. It's kind of interesting. So the mocap characters can't hurt me with swords, but they can hurt me with arrows. So I could have theoretically died from the arrows. The, what do you call it? The mocap characters, however, can kill each other with swords. And so basically I would shoot the scene where they would shoot each other with arrows and attack with swords. And, you know, I'd do 5 good guys attacking like 2 bad guys. And then I do 5 bad guys attacking those 5 good guys. And then I do 5 more good guys attacking those 5 bad guys. And then I was just kind of like, I'll throw me into the mix and I'll be the wild card. And it should be kind of random at that point, because some of them will live and some won't. And the ones that live will continue to do their thing and look busy. And the ones that won't will not, you know. So it all kind of came out well. Again, Lucas Webley, everyone. Oscar-winning performance, the only fucking good voice actor in the entire film. That, by the way, that's how you can tell I gave up. The fact that I just made this shitty-ass fucking, like, fade cut to the next bit because there was a but. I can't even remember why I did that. Oh, it was just because we found your shit underground. Oh, God. We found it underground. We found it. And it's just like us walking back into place is what it is. But like, I didn't have any. There wasn't we went underground. We went under the ship to look in the hold. Because you can see in the hold. There's nothing in the ship. It's not a populated ship. It's empty. It's an empty ship. And I didn't want to populate it. I didn't want to make any more sets. I was so worn down. And that's where, I mean, this is about where it ends. I do like that you can have mocap characters build sets for you. This was kind of an interesting design. I recorded them. I recorded one guy building something. I recorded the next guy building something. Where, basically wherever the first guy didn't build. And then I just had that, and then I took all of the replay stuff and had them, what do you call it? I had them do their building on an empty map. But yeah, so that is up to what I released. That's up to what I released, and after that I didn't release anything. But I do have more footage than that, actually, which we can look at. But yeah, extra thanks to Mojang, Planet Minecraft, Epidemic Sounds, Chisel and Bits, Replay, and Grey Goo. And I did use other mods, but those were like the big 3, and that's Redux. And I'm actually going to so from here is where it fades in, and this is, again, rough. I just like want to heavily iterate the word rough. I think, I don't know. I liked the dramatic music-y shots sort of thing. I thought it was fun. But again, like, is that the town that I was supposed to be coming out of? Because there's nobody in it. Like, yeah, sure, it's like a town in the desert, and we said we were going to a town in the desert, but there's no one there. You know? Like, that's supposed to be a path that I'm walking, but the path is, like, so wide that it's not even entirely clear that I'm walking it. So it just, I don't know. It was just like running out of creative juice among many other things. Getting blown up by the creepers, of course, and the husks. The dramatic Da da da, walking along. Ooh, sweeping shot. It's the turtle's path. This is like the laziest world editing. I was just like, here, have some gravel and sandstone and fuck it. On like a lazy ass fucking desert map. Lazy ass fucking pan. I didn't even use the replay mod, so it's like super unsmooth. And then we walk over to this house. Can't remember, did I build this house? I don't think I did. I think it was another one of those just I found. I started to just start pulling shit off the internet. Because some things I built, a lot of things I built, but like some things I was just like, fuck it. And I should have built this house, but I just went, fuck it. This was one of the few things that I actually had to film with someone else. So this first bit is filmed with me. So that's mocapped.
Yeah, no need to tell me twice. So, what are you doing out here? You remind me of me when I was your age. Always asking questions. Stupid ones. Why do
Look
you
at this.
think
There's another one of those like issues where like the eyes aren't lining up with the
What are you doing wandering
with
the
the
turtle's path?
where I'm supposed to be looking sort of thing.
Most of them only make this trip once, if you know what I mean.
The
I'm looking for a factory of some sort. I'm trying to track down a shipment of time machine parts. Time machine? Oh boy, is it your lucky day. I know just the place you're talking about. In fact, one of the few people who stop by here normally is the shipment guy himself. Good old Born Star. Haven't seen him in a few months. Anyways, I know just the place you're talking about. Just the place. So you can point me in the right direction? Oh, I can do you one better. It'll take way too long to get there on foot. How about you hop in my airship? Airship? That's what I said, an airship. The M-A-S.
this honestly, I don't know what it is about this specific shot, but like this lined up way better than some of the other like mocaps. I think it was just a very vigorous head shaking, made it look a lot better.
You got me. It's a faking. Of course it's real. How do you think I
The
make my way
MAF
around?
Titan.
I'm too old to walk the turtle's path. I die. No, I fly back and forth to tell Seer, and I can fly you right to the factory. That's incredible. I don't know how to thank you. Don't worry. Your company's thanks enough. I don't get many visitors out here, so it's nice to chat. Plus, I love me a good reason to take out the old Titan. Follow me around back.
Yeah, tell Seer to look like shit, by the way. Just so shit looking.
And there she is.
And you can see out back that there's no airship. And then all of a sudden there is.
Well, are you just gonna look at her all day, or are you?
Oh, and there's no lines, so this is clearly under fucking construction, because there's supposed to be all the lines from me coming in, where it's like, oh my god, an airship, holy shit, it's there, and it flies. Oh yeah, sure, I'm climbing aboard. So, all of the shots with this character now were with someone else. The only other time I actually had someone else film with me. And this was another thing where it was just like I couldn't use a mocapped character because they couldn't fly the ship,
Now hold on,
you know?
We're gonna-
But it also had to be shot from my perspective, which means a real person had to fly the ship.
Oh, look, we're here.
And there was also this like issue where
They're on foot.
I had to be in creative, which you can see I'm in creative right now, and I was gonna edit in the like having health and stuff like that.
Anyways, we'll sit down. You can get going. I don't know.
And
how
there it
to-
is, just right over the fucking hill.
Even if it was that close, I almost definitely would have walked right past it. Don't worry about it, Sonny.
Boink. The what do you call it? Yeah, I would have had to edit in the life effects, because if I'm in survival for whatever reason, I drop out of the ship and I just fall to the ground, like it's like not there. It was a very weird problem. Yeah, this is kind of what I wanted, was like a ship like this that was like for all of the.
Is anyone here?
And there he goes. Old man jump splat. And that's it. I think as far as footage, that's all I have. The rest is just audio for what was supposed to be wandering into the final room and seeing the teleporter, and I see the teleporter, and I see that the teleporter needs a date.
I'm all the way here, and I don't know where the fuck I need to go to.
Or like needs a date and a location and stuff.
Shit.
And it's like Jump Slide doesn't know where he's going.
Shit, who's there? Calm down, it's just me. Yeah? And who the hell are you? I'm you from a previous future. Oh my fucking god. Really? So you're me from the past future. There's me, there's the me from the future who sent me here, and then there's that crazy old man who dropped me off in a balloon. Is that everyone?
Beta.
Or do you have another future, past, present jump splat in your goddamn pocket? Oh no, not by any means. You're hardly the first to come here, but I'll hope you'll be the last. Okay.
Balloon. Was it supposed to be? I don't think it was ever supposed to be a balloon. I think part of me just thought it was going to be a balloon when I was like thinking of it. And then I just took one of the ships from the ship pack that I got the other ship from and just used that.
But I think I'm missing like 90% of the puzzle.
And I had to design the ship in such a way actually that it like actually was buoyant, funnily enough. Because just having it just didn't just fly. And I had to put like a bunch of like ballast in the bottom. I thought it was pretty funny. I actually had to reformat the ship. And basically, we're not going to go over the whole thing because obviously there's no footage. And I'm not just going to leave you in the black the whole time. But basically the footage is blah, blah, blah. If you want to know how it wraps up, it's Jump Splat is, or Alpha Jump Splat is, discover the Great Goo. He was a scientist. He released the Great Destroyer, but the others he was working with stopped him, but the Great Destroyer drove him mad, and he became obsessed, and he was convinced that if he let it destroy the world, he could become its master, like a god, and so he needed a world to let it destroy where no one would stop him. So he needed like a world that no one was on. So he created dimensional travel. He discovered the rifts, which take you through dimensions. He found the world that he could do that. He began abducting other Jump Splats, and he would use them as guinea pigs. And then if anything fucked up, he could just try again, basically. And then he did this a number of times, and for the Jump Splats that survived, but like it didn't work out, he would just toss them into this world, Aoria. And he would just be like, yeah, I don't need you. And so the first one to be sent back was Beta, which is the old man you meet inside the facility. And so Beta developed time travel. So there's dimensional travel and time travel. And so Beta developed time travel so that you could go back in time and not trigger the Great Destroyer and end the plans. But except Beta was too old, so he sends other Jump Splats back through, but no one's fixed the loop because people keep showing up, so he just keeps doing it. And it doesn't make actually at one point I think Jump Splat literally says, what is the line? It's something along the lines of that doesn't make any sense. Like Alpha's kind of batshit insane, right? And we're like, yeah, that's pretty much the consensus. Like, it doesn't make any sense entirely that he needs other, well, like, why does he need other jumps? Like, it doesn't make sense, but whatever, he's a crazy person. And everyone just kind of accepts that. I think this is the laziest cop-out in writing. Honestly, I just was like, yeah, fuck it, he's crazy. He went mad. But yeah, anyway, so this is kind of the end of it. And so I had like two ends, one in which Alpha shows up, kills Beta, and then is like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like, I thank you for leading me to Beta. Like, the little shithead has been fucking with my plans, and now I can kill him, and you know, he brings in like a whole army, and I was like, oh, I don't want to mocap a whole army. And so I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just have it so that there's a dramatic conversation and there's a bunch of flashbacks, and I was like, oh, I don't want to film a bunch of flashbacks either. And then it would have literally just been Jump Splat being like, fuck it, I'll go through your portal. And then he goes through the portal, and he ends up back on the island. So that portal you see at the beginning, that portal effect, is the portal of Jump Splat going back in time. And so it would have ended with the same scene of Jump Splat going, my head. End. Credits roll. Yeah. And so that's how it would have gone if I had finished. And I didn't because I just didn't. But yeah, I think that I bit off more than I can chew. And I think I chewed more than I thought I would have, but I still, too much. And I'm glad that I did that. I think everybody at some point thinks that they can just do it all themselves. And you need a reality check. And I did. I had my reality check by trying to do it and getting through about halfway through it and just burning out. And that was my reality check. And from now on, I know that I'm going to need other people at the very least, or I need to stick to smaller projects in which I can do them by myself. But yeah, so I'd like to thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient and waiting for Redux. I know I've been going on and on and on about it and not putting it out, and I finally did put it out on April 1st. April Fools, it's real. I'm not waiting. I'm just putting it out now. That's the joke. But yeah. So, yeah. I'd like to thank you for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you later, YouTube.